Hi, I'm Keith Lundholm, and I'm with New Vintage Automotive here in Cookeville, Tennessee. And today I'm going to go over the 1969 to 73 Opel GT headlight mechanism repairs. So in front of me here, beside me, I've got a couple pairs of headlight mechanisms. And a common issue on these is for bolts to break inside of these. And I literally have 20 or 30 pairs of these that all have damage. They offer a kit through Germany that's really nice. It's all stainless steel. They've reproduced all the internal gears to this unit, but it gets pretty expensive. So they're $79 a side, last I checked, and if you're doing your own, that's not too bad. But if I'm rebuilding these for customers or something, not only do I have all that time and replating and stuff, but I've also got to tack on at $79. When really there's usually nothing wrong with these, the gears themselves. But it's always this middle part. So I would say half of those have already had some kind of repair attempted on them. Meaning someone's tried to drill out a bolt and, just didn't get it center and got part way in there and gave up. You really can't, if you got all the time in the world, you can sit there and do that. But I've got a tried and true way of doing it is pretty much 100%. As long as you got a good sharp new drill bit and a tap, and that's what I want to show today. So how these mechanisms are, here's a good pair, and I'll just kind of show. So this is the front, or what I call the front, and your headlight cables come through this hole, okay? And this lever is what activates the switches, and it works with the gear internal here. And these have these came with a rubber seal, and we do have a comparable part number for this from Trimlock that we use and works, and I'll try to post that below in the comments or the description. But so how you can tell these apart is if you're looking at the front, this top crown here, I'll call it a crown, the high point points towards the center of the car. So if this is pointing towards the center, this is the driver's side. And the passenger side is the same. It's pointing towards the center, so this high point, this is a passenger side. Also, a passenger side, unless it's a 1969, has one switch in the back. This is the micro switch, and that works like the different functions of it telling you your headlights didn't turn on with the indicator lights. That'd be the white indicator light on your dash. And so a 69 won't have one at all. But now if you have one of our wiring harnesses, or an early style, whether you bought it from us or from a vendor, it'll have wiring extra where you could hook up this switch and have an extra on and off switch. So I always recommend, if you got a 69, add this switch. And if you want, even on a later one, we can make it where you have this as an extra backup switch. So if that one micro switch on the driver's side, which a driver's side has two switches on every year. So you've got, this is an on and off switch. And in the 70s got the best wiring because it had two on and off switches. And then later they dropped that. So But that's a quick way to tell if you've got a driver side or a passenger side is, check the micro switches. Driver side will have 2. So, show this one as an example of kind of what I'm talking about. I'm going to kind of show you here. So, they have these roll pins. This has got the lever pulled off. So this lever right here, and there is a shim that's been pulled off. And this is exposed. And you can see, I'm going to try to get a close-up. This one and this one have a bolt broken in it. This one is good. And these roll pins are sticking up a certain height. And they're not, you got to be careful. These can get hammered down and flush. And then you got to try to get them out because you need those to kind of help hold that lever in place. They're just the height of that lever and that spacer. So sometimes these are broken. Sometimes those roll pins are broken. I mean, you can drill them out. You just got to be careful because they're split. And sometimes that would easily snap a drill bit. So you might just do a small one to drill out the inside of it and then slowly work your way out with it. Or some kind of a step drill bit. So what we're going to do in real time is we're going to get this piece out, and I'm going to show you how to fix these bolt holes. And again, there's no point in trying to set up here and center drill this because it's just not enough to really guide you to get it. But I've got a tried and true way of doing it. And we're going to do it in real time here. You're going to see me, what I grind out. It's going to be noisy. Don't worry about the car behind me. I'm not going to throw up any grinding dust on it. And I'm going to show you exactly what tools you need, or pretty close. I mean, some of this equipment you might not have, but I'd recommend, using a drill press. We'll be on the drill press, and I'll show you drilling these out. So hang tight. We're gonna transition over to the other side of the table, and I'm going to show you all the stuff we're going to use. Okay, so the tools you're going to need are safety glasses. You need a drill bit, 5/32. This is the perfect size. Just make sure you got a new drill bit or a really good drill bit, nice and sharp. If it's all worn out, you're just, you're wasting time. Same goes with the tap. Okay, so this is an M5 by 0.8 millimeter pitch. And I'm at the point where I'm going to need to replace this tap. But again, good sharp tap is important. It'll just speed up the work. Also, I got an easy out. Now this is a Matco. I don't think the brand matters, but it is a number 2 easy out. Mine's actually got the tip broke, but it works for what I need. It's the point it's still got. It works. Tap handle, and you'll need some kind of a way to grind out the peened over ends of the mechanism. So I use a die grinder with a cutoff wheel. You might want to sit and sand them so you don't get any sand marks, but this piece is going to be forever covered. So as long as you're not just totally gouging into the metal, you're going to be fine. So there are differences in these lights, light mechanisms. And so on the back side, there's 3 mounting holes. And 2 of these you access through the inner fender. The cover comes off, and you have the 2 exposed, and then the one inside the engine bay. Like this one is the driver side, so This one is going to be up by the master cylinder, near the reservoir, to access it. So that's important. Check these. Make sure they are in good shape. If not, you may consider just going and finding another unit, because it's a lot of work to just drill all of these out. And these were not actually taken off. If I removed these outer bolts, I would say, you know, no problem. I could put them on a lathe and center drill them out, no problem. But I'm not doing that. And the repair kits that come from Germany, they have these two outer pins, we'll call them pins, but they're not threaded. They're not drilled and tapped. So I don't see how you can even use them unless you're going to machine them yourself, and most people don't have that kind of equipment to do all that. So make sure those three are good shape. Now, this one is like a silver plating, or it's considered a clear zinc. Okay, this is an earlier one. This came out of a 70, pretty early 70 model. But then later they were, you know, yellow zinc. Let's see. You know, kind of here's a yellow zinc. I've got a really nice one that we took apart that it was a shame I had to take it apart. But again, you know, these now this isn't always the case, but earlier ones are silver, and earlier ones have, see this? It's round. Okay. Now I have a round one that is yellow zinc, like this one. This is actually yellow zinc, and it's got round bolts or bushing, spacers, whatever you call it. Okay, so here's a later one, and this is preferred. Not a major deal, but notice this one. See how it's slotted and like kind of elongated? That just helps hold that in there in place from turning. Because when you're tightening these bolts, if this is loose in here, it might rotate there. I mean, in likelihood it would be slim, but that is a possibility, and that's why I feel that they changed that design to make those where they couldn't rotate. So this is the one we're going to do today. Obviously, I've got good roll pins. You know, they're sticking up good. But I've got 2 broken bolts in this one. So we're going to do this one in real time. And what I mean by real time is I'm going to drill one out and show you, you know, how we do it. But first what we got to do is we got to take these 2 halves apart. And how we're going to do that, let's see where I can get, is I like to go on the inside of it, take out the micro switches, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 little pins that have been like hammer set in here. So what they did at the factory, they had some kind of a crimping machine that pressed these together and fastened it. And you can kind of see like the X mark where they've been stamped and mushroomed out. And the reason I like to do this is because if I do it on this side, you've got 2 more. That's the pin that's holding these bolts on, and you don't need to take those off. If you take those off, you're asking for trouble. So just leave them in there, because we can do all the work we need to and leave those in and not have to mess with it. So it's less headache. So don't grind them on this side yet. only on the inside. Let's focus on getting this apart first. So I'm going to get my safety glasses on. And again, don't worry, I'm not going to get anything on that car over there, so nobody go ballistic worrying about it. Again, I'll circle them. Got 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2 that are slightly bigger. And we're just gonna grind them out. Just grind them flat. Okay, you can see we just grind that smooth. That's all you gotta do. You don't have to go really below this surface. Okay, so we got the 3 small ones and the 2 big ones. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to another table where I can kind of bang around. But basically I'm just going to take a big flat blade screwdriver and wedge these and get this to pop loose. Then on this side, you'll also do the same 5 that we did. Okay, so you'll have those off. But I just reiterate, you don't want to do these outer ones on the front. You need those to stay. Okay, so this is just our junk work table. But I'll get a bigger flathead screwdriver. I like to come in from the bottom. Just move this lever over and just kind of take a hammer and pop it. You can kind of see maybe where that one's popped loose. You can see it's nice and round. That's where it's actually popped loose. So I've got that one. I'll slide this over out of the way and pop this one. And then I kind of turn this to the side and go down in here about where those bigger ones are and try to pop it loose too. Loose. Turn this lever back over if I can. Pop loose, and then now you don't want to hammer on this and push them roll pins in. So just be careful of that. I'm going to use something to support it, and I've got a punch. I'm just going to hit this center one, and you saw it just popped loose. So this cover come right off. These are identical left to right, unless you've got an early and a late. You just got to be mindful of that. And then on the inside, Okay, we've got our 3 pins remaining that we'll grind out. And then you got the bigger pins you'll grind out. And they kind of hold these together. Now these will sometimes pop loose, these outer levers, but right now all we care about is this. That's what we want to pull out. Okay, you can leave this there, you can keep it all together. We're not messing with that right now, so we're gonna focus on this. So the key to this is to get these out and get them nice and centered is these roll pin holes don't go all the way through this piece, which kind of makes it a pain as well. But these threaded holes do. And so on the back side is this hole is slightly smaller than the thread. And the bolts don't go near this, or they're not supposed to if they've used the right bolts. So the good thing is that 5/32 drill bit is just the right size to fit in that. And what that's going to allow you to do is center that drill and drill that bolt out and not get off canter. And a lot of times I can drill it out and it'll come out thread and all. I don't have to come back with an easy out. But right now we're going to go to the drill press and we're going to drill that out in real time. Okay, so here we are. And the good thing about this is you can chuck up onto this outer and you're not going to worry about the drill bit hitting anything. So I'm gonna go on the first one. I got a support here. I'm gonna put my drill bit in. This is just an old drill press and like combination vise, but it's old Chinese one, but it's always been good. So this part's going to be noisy. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna try to even zoom in here and get you the best view I can. I'm a one-man operation today. A little lube is good too. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it down, and I'm gonna put slight pressure on it. So that's an original bolt and it's soft, and I'm going right through it. I mean, it's like butter. Usually I have a hard time because someone's put a different bolt in there. So I've actually already done that one. That went out pretty smooth. And I did get lucky on that because it looks like the thread, I can see all the threads, so it pushed it all out. So that's great. That is awesome. Now this one, let's hope we get as lucky. Probably not, but I'm sorry, I'm going backwards here. Okay. Yep. Chuck it up. A little lube. Yeah, it's soft too, so. Right through. Awesome. I actually seen that one come out. So what I did, let's see if I can get that. See if the autofocus will catch it. Okay, right there. That's the original bolt, thread, and all. The good thing about reverse drilling this is you're drilling where basically the bolt is unthreading. So all I did was I caught that and started unscrewing it. And it worked out great. So this one's going to be just beautiful. So remember, 5/32 drill them from the back side, and a lot of times it'll come out thread and all. All it's doing is it's turning it out for you. And it doesn't leave a mess or incorrect drill angles. It's wonderful. I'm 100% so far on pulling those studs out, or those old bolts. So we're going to go over, I'm going to run the tap through it just so you can see that too. I wish this kind of gave us a little bit of a fit. That way I could have shown you more with the easy out and stuff, but I'll still show that as well. Okay, we're back. And this is the point where I would normally say I chuck this in a vise. Okay, I want it solid while I'm doing this. But most cases, if they've changed the bolt and put a harder bolt in there and it's broken off, I'll drill it perfectly center, but I still got thread in that I need to get out. So I'll take this easy out and I'll put it on a tap handle, and I'll push it down in there, and then these are on a reverse like coil, and a lot of times I'll get that out that way. If not, a good sharp tap will cut into that thread and get it. But at this point, you need to take your tap and go ahead and run it through. This spins really easy because obviously I got good clean threads. But take the minute to take the tap, regardless, even if you know a hole is good, and you can add lube on this too. But go through every thread. Let's just make sure we're good here. Okay. And that's that. So you've just saved that piece, which is the heart. I'll say that's the heart of the mechanism. This next bit I'm going to show are the parts that come in the new kit and what we're going to have available. So you don't have to quite buy the whole kit. You can buy just the spacer kit, and then you can make these just as nice as brand new with the original parts. So that's coming up next. Okay, so this is fast forwarding, but pretend that you've taken those pieces, you ground out those 5 on the front. Okay, this is a driver's side, and let's pretend we did all that work, and this is the reason you leave these in here, because you can plate them and have everything there, and you can see where these could rotate because they've got some play in them. So that being the upgraded or the later design. So you've got 2 of these pieces and 2 of these interlocks. And of course, your lever and the spacer, and your outer gear. So I've sent all these out to be plated, and I just want to make a few notes here on these parts. So these are size specific. At a glance, they look identical, but this is a left hand and there is a right hand version. And Same it goes with this centerpiece. How this lever goes on is all determined by, you know, what side it is. And of course it ain't going to go right there, but anyways, just for instance, to show you, so this is the passenger, this is the driver's side. Notice this hole in this bar, okay? Notice it's on the up position when we got them over here, you know, to the left, okay? Where the passenger one, that hole is on the bottom. Now that's a through hole for your mounting bracket. It has a bolt and a nut on the headlight, and that hole's there for clearance. And that's important that that's there. Because see, like this is the open, or this is like the closed position, this is the open position for this one. And so that bar, you can tell it's for a driver's side, okay? Well, no, I'm sorry. It's for a passenger side. I had it backwards. So that pin right there goes on the inside. So those are different per side, and that's where, you know, maybe making a mark on these if you're sending out a bunch to get plated or go that far, you know, be sure you know which side you got. So when you take one apart, that's why I like to keep it all together and keep it together the whole time so you don't get mixed up. Me, I have several of them, so when I get them back, I can compare them. So this piece, here's the new one. Here's the new stainless one. And you notice it's got two holes, or it did have two holes, because the pin is this gear is symmetric, but the pin location is different for each side. So I've got a driver's side one, and this is for a right-hand side. And these come marked, and they come with, you know, these parts. These are kind of the wear parts, but honestly, unless you have any broken teeth, and you got all the threads out, they're good. You know, there's no getting any better. Now, first thing a lot of people see is they see that tooth right there, and they see that tooth. And you're like, well, that's a broken tooth. No, that's exactly how it's designed. It needs that little bit of a slop when it's in in one of these certain positions to kind of get started. It's got to clear that tooth. I didn't design it. That's just how it is. And you can tell the new ones are the same way. You know, they got that, looks like a broken tooth. I can't tell you how many people call me and say, hey, I need a headlight mechanism. Mine's got some broken teeth. And I'm like, no, they're designed that way. So in these kits, they include some roll pins, so you can put your roll pins back in. They come with some, and I'll take off these gloves. These are 3mm little spacers. These are the small spacers that we ground out, and they're threaded. And they got some real flat, fine corresponding screws. Now we're going to be offering these bushings. And then these are the outer bushings. These are the larger little pins that we ground. Okay, so these are the larger pins, and then those are the smaller pins. So to speed up things, you can see I got 3 screws in this one, and I got got 3 of the spacers already in there. And I'm going to start with the front piece, turn this way, and you got this pin, but see, you've got one side that is, they're both locks. They got like a circle that holds that pin. Okay, so this can only go on this side. This one, it just won't work. It touches here. There's no way. So you can't really mix these up. But then this has a little pin. Kind of, let's see. You see that little ledge right there on the actual shaft I'm holding? So that holds this piece. Okay, see that bigger hole? I'm going to kind of show. So it just hooks on there. Okay, see that? There's no actual screw connection there. It's just a tight fit. Once it's all together, it can't come out. So I'm using this kit for the hardware, but our kit's actually going to be threaded on these bushings too, because I feel like it really helps hold this thing together if you have a way to tighten that down too. And it'll make things easier when you're putting this together. Now, I don't normally put it dry together like this, but for the video we're going to. Because I don't have even the correct size. Actually, I'll throw in, let's see, we're doing the driver's side. So this is the correct, but this isn't correct for the drivers, but we're gonna run it just for video. So this can only go one way. And this piece, grease it, white lithium grease, or even like at a bike shop, get that green, like heavy duty waterproof grease. And you'll set that down. Get this pin. I'll show you this. So these are the big pins that I tell you not to take out. They make them in the kit. But see, that end isn't threaded. And that's the side that you gotta, mount the whole headlight mechanism with. So without a screw in that it's like, why even make that? You didn't do us any favors by making that. You just add it to the cost of the kit, throwing those in. Now, I mean, I have a lathe. I could thread that, which that's like that's a 6 millimeter by 1.0, I think. So, okay, so we got this in. Now, then you get this piece, and it's kind of foolproof too. You got 2 diameters here. It can only go one way. So it's going to go in facing forward there. And just get it in the teeth. Grease the teeth. Grease all this. If you're just sandblasting and painting this, just be careful. I mean, you don't really want to powder coat this. You can paint it. Just keep it thin. On these originals, you see them dots? Okay. They're just peened on both ends, on the top and the bottom of that bar. And you can see right here, scratch marks from those. That's actually a spacer for that, to space it off of the metal and lube that area, because that's what it glides on, is those little bumps. So that kind of helps keep this from being too tight as well. Lube this. This is going to be a wear area right here, and it's machined just for that. So, okay, so once we got that's everything together. We take our cover, I've already got the bushings in, so it should just fall right on. And you just got to make sure you got those bushings in, and then make sure you've got these outer slotted bolts lining up. And to hold this together better, you could get some 6mm bolts and put in there with a washer just to clamp that down. That'd actually be a really good tip to keep this together. So I'm gonna rotate this. I'm gonna take these 3 screws. I'm gonna put them in here. And again, we're going to be providing these kits. So even if you got good threads, but you just want to take them apart and have them, cleaned up and then replate it, it just makes for part of a nice detailed restoration. So nothing wrong with that at all. These screws, once you get them in, you can tighten them up both ways. You don't really need to Loctite them, but you could certainly use like a blue Loctite. And when turning these, obviously they're both going to turn. So you'll take 2 screwdrivers and hold one side while you do this. I just have these. I'll sandblast these if I've not sent them to be chemically stripped. I'll sandblast them and I'll take them to a local plater. But right there, it's all together and it's not going to come apart. But again, I would, for our kits that we will be producing, probably expect those December of 22, but these will be threaded as well. And the reason you want these nice and flat is because you want to make sure that your bar here, you want to make sure everything's going to clear. And you don't really have to worry about anything here. But you definitely want them flat right there, because this piece will come up, and it does have some space between it, but you just want to make sure that you don't go too far. And again, I did put the wrong side on this. It actually go in backwards like this, that pin going that way, because this was a passenger side one. So but anyways, that's it. And that would give you space. And then this spacer goes on the outside of them. You can see on these originals, you got this bracket, and then you got this washer. Or all it is a shim spacer. And that lets you know too that you've got these roll pins at the right height. If you've got all that in and the roll pins are still sticking up, just tap them down. No problem. But that's a quick going through these and actually repairing them. Now, don't assume that everything's perfect. I mean, I have seen these bent, and I have seen them just chewed up and looked like they just were totally abused. I mean, at that point, yeah, you got to throw them away or buy a kit. But I'm saying is you don't really need this, I would call it a master kit. You just need the bushings, which the German kits, they don't sell the bushings separately, but we will. So it'll save you on putting some parts. I mean, just yesterday, I machined out, 7 of these things. That's 7 headlight mechanisms that I pretty much almost would have thrown away. I just said, there's no way we're going to, be able to use those because they're so hard to drill out. And I was hoping on one of these, yeah, see like this one. Yeah, you can kind of see it. In this hole right here, you see where it kind of looks like it's all the way through, it's stepped. Someone has drilled that, and, you know, same thing. It's, yeah, they actually, it looks like they drilled it fairly center, but it just got hard or it had nowhere to go with it, and they gave up. You really want, I mean, 3 bolts to me isn't almost enough, you know, but you want at least 3 bolts in that, because that's what's going back and forth all that time and all those years. And these loosen up. Now, the originals had a little bit of like a Teflon on them to lock them in. There were locking bolts. And but even then, they would loosen up. And if you didn't keep on top of them and just kind of go in there and retighten everything, you know, they'd start getting sloppy, and that's how they break. You know, they get that shock of that headlight rotating, and they snap. So again, that method has just allowed us to be able to put these together and even offer them rebuilt, plated and ready to go. I mean, so here's the difference, you know, before and after. And these the springs, there are some springs, and these springs are reusable. I do tend to lightly stretch them out a little bit to make them weaker. So when you rotate these over, that lock-in mechanism is a little easier to bite into this bar. This bar, how they lock is this comes up, hits these two. It's kind of like a door latch. It hits those two like strikers, and it closes the teeth on them. And that spring just keeps that from wiggling loose and unlocking. But so it has to have some tension, but you can lighten it up a little bit too, and it'll be a lot smoother. And once these are mounted too, you know, you really don't have to have this threaded, but I like that as an extra insurance. So be looking for our kits, and they will be threaded there, and it'll come with all the hardware. So you'll get 5 pins and 10 screws. Well, thank you for watching this video. I know I rambled on, but I just want to show actually how easy this is, and by doing it in pretty much real time and you watching. And if you want to know more about headlights and the operation and how to set them up, we have 3 videos showing the actual install of a headlight mechanism. And it's not the easiest, but, you know, a little practice and that you'll become a pro at it. And any questions, you can comment below. Thanks again.